Today we're diving into the setup of a beautiful 2.5 gallon nano tank that's perfect for Caridina shrimp and snails. Whether you're a beginner or looking for tips to elevate your small tank game, I've got you covered. First and foremost, before we get started, I do want to thank Night Crew for sponsoring the video. Now, why would you want to have a nano tank? A lot of people are limited in space, and if you have a little corner in your room where you can only fit a small tank, something like this would be perfect for that. Now, do be mindful, small tanks require attention to detail, but today I'm going to guide you step by step to make it foolproof so that you can also set this up just like I will and make it look just like this. Now, here's everything that we're going to need to set up a tank. We're going to need the tank itself. We're going to need some active substrate. We're going to need a filter. We're going to need an LED light. We're going to need some reverse osmosis water with remineralizer for Caridina shrimp. We'll also need some plants, and of course we'll need some snails. Alright, so we're going to start off by adding the active soil into the tank. For this, I'm using a 1/4 liter of ADA Amazonia. This is version 2 and gold mixed together. And it's very important to spread it out evenly, just like that. And for every single tank that I cycle, I use KW Shrimp's powder bacteria. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle some on top of the soil, just like that. This will feed the bacteria and get the cycle going. And this being such a small tank, I'm just going to lightly place some small bags in here and manually fill it up. Alright, so this is what the tank should look like once it's filled. The great thing about this tank is it already includes an LED light and a filter. So let's set up the filter. One thing that I'm doing, I'm actually doing a small modification to this. This is the filter that it comes with. So I can show you guys. I'm actually removing this. I already have some cycled media for my other tanks. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm actually going to put the cycled media in this compartment right here. Just like that. And I actually cut up a little piece of sponge that I'm going to add here. Just like this. And now I'm going to add some water to it and get the filter going. Now that I've got the filter going, I really like the flow of it. I think it's actually going to clear up the tank pretty fast. Next step, we're going to be adding some GH plus remineralizer. This is what I use, and I'm only going to use a little bit of it. Remember guys, the active soil in the tank is going to leach ammonia, which will get the nitrifying bacteria from the active cycled media that I added in there. It's going to get it working. Now mind you, I'm only trying to cut the process in half, hopefully, by adding cycled media. So let's say you didn't have that and you only had this. There's absolutely nothing else that you have to do right now other than wait 6 to 8 weeks. ADA Amazonia leaches a lot of soil, so sometimes it does take that long until it stops leaching ammonia and to cycle the tank. So just want to remind you guys, this soil will cycle your tank on its own. And so right now, what next step? I'm going to wait 24 to 48 hours until the tank clears up, then we'll add some plants. All right, so it's been 48 hours. It's time to get plants in here. As you guys can see, the filter has done a great job of clearing up the tank. For this tank, we're keeping it very minimal, very simplistic. We're adding some of my favorite moss in here. We're adding 2 small clumps of weeping moss. And we're also adding 3 small Marimo moss balls. Now the reason why we're just keeping it very, very simple is we want to be able to see the shrimp, and this moss over time will also just grow, and I'll probably end up having to trim it. And so right now, the next part is the difficult part for a lot of beginners. This is where we just sit back and wait. I'll be back in about 3 to 4 weeks. I'll constantly be checking this. Remember, that's the key to this. Right now, we constantly keep checking. We want to make sure that there's no ammonia before we get shrimp in here. But again, this is going to cycle itself. We'll be back. All right, so it's been 4 weeks. The tank is completely cycled. What I did today was I actually went ahead and I tested for ammonia. At the 3-week mark, I checked and it still had a little bit of ammonia. I did a 50% water change. And then right now at the 4-week mark, which was yesterday, I did another 50% water change. And today we had no ammonia. So a lot of people have actually asked, you know, does adding cycled media help? I strongly believe from experience that it does help. And so also, another thing I did was I threw in a few more marine mold mothballs. I just really like the look of it. And there's only going to be a few shrimp in here and a few snails. Remember, guys, this is such a small nano tank. This is perfect to try to teach other people what it's like to keep Caridina shrimp. Or, you know, a lot of people would want to use this for a beta tank. Please do not use this as a beta tank. I am one of those that I strongly believe betas should be in a 5-gallon tank or high or larger. And so snails, a few shrimp, you know, something suitable for this is what I'm trying to teach you guys in this setup. This specific setup was Caridina, and of course it does take a little bit longer to set up. Some Neos will probably went in here after week 2, but you know, I'm actually really excited with how this one turned out. This whole kit is available on Amazon from Nano. So down below, I've actually included the link in the description to this setup itself. And so one other thing, TDS. I did match TDS to my other tanks. So right now I'm gonna go pick out some shrimp from my other tanks and some snails. But I wanna remind you guys, this is a product that I use, so I always aim for 100 to 120 TDS. That gives me 3 to 4 GH, and that's kind of what I'm going for. Caridina shrimp, you want to stay within 3 to 6 GH, 0 to 1 KH. So if you can just follow those simple steps, it'll be really easy. You can keep Caridina shrimp. And actually, I'm adding some Assasin snails in here as well. I've actually had them here I actually bought them just to put them in the tank. So let's go pick out some shrimp and then I'll show you guys. We'll get them in here. All right, so I know it might be a little difficult to see, but I've selected a group of 8 Advanced Nanacy and 2 Assasin snails. This group I think will be awesome in this tank. This is in my living room and it's gonna be more of a show tank. This is their permanent home as well, so I'm sure they're excited, so let's get them in their new home. All right, so all I'm doing here is I'm gonna catch them and just throw them in there. And it should actually be really easy. That's why I like to keep most of my tanks with very similar TDS, very similar pH, because then I'm able to just do this and just transfer them over to the next tank if I need to. This is how you set up a Caridina tank. As you guys just saw in this video, it's actually very easy to set one up. If you've been wanting to set one up and just never got around to it, I hope that by watching this video, you feel confident enough that you can set up your own. Just do be mindful that smaller tanks are a little bit more vulnerable to pH swings and ammonia spikes, so just keep an eye on that. Make sure to invest in some test kits as you will need them, and let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this video. I'll see you guys soon.